Welcome back. It is Monday, scholars, and today is National Clean Up Your Room Day. So if you're like me and have a messy room with basically no floor, today is that day to clean your room. All right, today we are going to be able to explain the significance of Florence and the advances in painting and Happy Magic Monday, scholars. Welcome back. Today is National Clean Up Your Room Day. So if you're like me, whose entire apartment is very messy and has almost no visible floor, today is that day to clean your room. Today we're still talking about Florence and its achievements, and we're going to talk in particular about literature, science, and math. So we have a quick do now, and then actually you do have a couple notes today, and then guided practice and independent practice. So for your do now, we're taking it back. We're taking it back. What letter on this map represents an archipelago? And I don't want you to just give me the answer. I want you to give me your reasoning as to how you knew the answer. All right. So go ahead and pause and answer the do now. All right, so our correct answer is number 2, or the letter B. And I know this because if you think back all the way to Japan, because Japan is one of these, an archipelago is a chain of islands. And that's what I see right here. Okay, a chain of islands. All right, we do have 2 words today, 2 note words. One is a review word, but I just worded it a little bit differently, and that's secular, and that's relating to earthly matters rather than to religion. So again, in the visual, secular just means non-religious. And then our second word is circulation, and that's because we're going to be talking about the human body a little bit today, and circulation is the movement of blood in your body. So how your blood gets throughout your body. So go ahead and pause and get those quick words jotted down, and then we will move on to guided practice. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about today is literature. So here we go. Literature, like other Renaissance art forms, was changed by the rebirth of interest in classical ideas and the rise of humanism. During the Italian Renaissance, the topics that people wrote about changed. So did their style of writing and the language in which they wrote. In medieval times, literature usually dealt with religious topics. Most writers used a formal, impersonal style. Most Italian writers wrote in Latin. Their work could only be read by a few highly educated people. In contrast, Renaissance writers were interested in individual experience and the world around them. Writing about secular or non-religious topics became more common. Writers used a more individual style, and they expressed thoughts and feelings about life. By the end of the Renaissance, most writers were writing in their own dialect instead of Latin. As a result, far more people could read their work. And dialect is just everyday language. So how I'm speaking right now, I'm speaking in my dialect. So what I'd like you to do is in your chart, just characteristics, my favorite word I could never ever say, um, characteristics of medieval writing or literature here, and then the characteristics of Renaissance literature on this side. So we're going to contrast them. We're going to see how they are different. So should actually take you about 4 minutes, and you can just bullet point them because that's what I did. And you're just going to give me the characteristics, and there's actually quite a few for Renaissance, so make sure you catch them all. Go ahead and pause. All right, so here's some differences. We have in medieval literature, the topics are religious, so I see that here. It was very formal, and it was written in Latin. For Renaissance text, we see it very worldly. It's mostly secular. It's about individual style, or it has individual style. So the way I write a story would be different than the way you write a story. We don't write the same. So individual style. we have thoughts, we have feelings in in these texts, and it is in their own dialect. So go ahead and pause if you need to finish getting that down, and then we can move on to some more guided practice. All right, so this way, so you don't have to go back to the previous text. I just put in the same, or I made the previous slide smaller here in the text so that you didn't have to go back to find evidence. So here, why did more people become literate or the ability to read during the Renaissance? So, oh, you know what I should do? It should be, well, no, why did more people become literate during the Renaissance? So you're going to restate. So more people became literate during the Renaissance because you're going to provide evidence from the text. You're paraphrasing, so you're not giving me a quote. You're putting it in your own words, just like you do on writing class for your project. And then explain how this evidence supports your claim. So how does that support? So go ahead and pause and answer this question in complete sentences. Make sure you're doing C, E, and R. All right, so I put people became more literate during the Renaissance because literature became easier to read. Writers, and so that's my claim. I prove this with a paraphrase that writers during this time began writing in their own dialect or everyday language. Because of this, more people could read their work. So I have my evidence, and then because of this, more people could read. Okay. And then I box off where I found that evidence. Can pause and get that down, and then we will continue. All right. So this is the last little bit of guided practice, and then I'll move you to independent. But I think you'll be really interested in this text. I actually have a copy of it. If you're one of my in-school people, I'd be happy to give it to you to let you borrow it. Dante Alighieri, a native of Florence, was the best-known writer to create literature in his native language. His best-known work, The Divine Comedy, which is sarcasm, was written in the early 1300s. This long poem describes Dante's imaginary journey through the places where Christians believed that souls went in the afterlife. With the spirit of the ancient Roman poet Virgil as his guide, Dante witnesses the torments of souls condemned to inferno or hell. Virgil also takes him to purgatory, a place between heaven and hell where souls await entry into heaven. Then a beautiful woman named Beatrice shows him paradise or heaven. Like other humanist art, the Divine Comedy highlights strong emotions and the experience of individuals. Dante's poem is a social commentary too. It is filled with real people. The inhabitants of hell include people Dante disapproved of. People he admired appeared in heaven. Like other humanist art, oh, I just made that double. Dante's work became a model for other Renaissance writers. He strongly influenced two important Florentine writers, Petrarch and Boccaccio. They describe people's lives with a new intensity of feeling. Like Dante, they wrote using the dialect, so their words touched many more people. So, here in question 2, how is Dante's Divine Comedy an example of humanist art? So what about his text made it humanist? So go ahead and pause the video and answer that question. All right, again, I boxed off where I found my answer. Dante's work expressed emotions, was about the experience of individuals, and commented on society and people of the time. Go ahead and get that down. So pause the video if you need to, and then I'll guide you through independent practice quickly. All right, for independent practice, you're gonna learn about science and math during this time. And this is not the right question, so the right question is on your screen. The right question is on your screen. This is not the correct question. And you are going to read about Leonardo and his notebooks and who other scientists were. And then you have our last slide, you have some review. So you have 6 multiple choice questions here, and just answer them below. And that is it. And you are done for Monday. You made it through Monday. I know Mondays are rough sometimes. All right, so I will see you tomorrow and we'll finish up talking about Florence and then we'll move on to some really important people in the Renaissance. Have a wonderful day, Bulldogs.